Hello everyone and happy 4th of July. Today we're going to be jumping back into historic Brawl with my favorite red, white, and blue commander, Kykar Wind's Fury. Now Kykar is a 3/3 flyer for 4 mana, and whenever we cast a non-creature spell, we're going to be able to create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. We can additionally sacrifice those spirits to add 1 red mana. So very similar to Bergie, who's able to create extra mana for us to spend when we cast our spells. Kykar is a great storm commander. We're looking to win the game with cards like Grapeshot or 1,000-Year Storm, allowing us to copy our damage-dealing spells some number of times, casting more and more and more and more, and eventually burning out our opponent that way. Keeping in line with that, we do have a couple of other cards to enable our storm wins, things like Stormkiln Artist and Bergie, to give us that extra mana we need to keep pushing through the deck. We also have Galvanic Relay. This is another storm spell that's going to let us exile a whole bunch of cards from the top of our library and cast those this turn. We have some non-storm closers, things like Lightning Bolt and Shock to synergize with the 1,000-Year Storm. And we also have a lot of cantrip spells, things like Warlord's Fury, letting us draw a card for 1 red mana, which will notably replace itself off of our spirits. Additionally, we do have a secondary win con, which is swinging wide with all of these spirits that we create. And that could be very powerful for us, but we are definitely more focused on that damage approach. Now, if you guys have been enjoying my content so far, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all of my latest videos. And if you do enjoy this video, make sure you hit that like button. Now let's go ahead and see how this deck does. Alright, right off the bat, here we are facing off into Atali. I actually like this starting hand. We have early ramp with Arcane Signet. Anointed Procession is going to help us with all of our tokens as well. And we have Neonate and Opt to help us cantrip as well and get some additional cards to look at. We're going to go ahead and keep this starting hand. Opponent starts out with a tap land. Now we could shock in Steam Vents here, but I actually don't want to cast Opt just yet, so we're going to save our life and play the Steam Vents tapped. Looking good. Now, red is actually a more prevalent color in our deck than blue. We're going to go ahead and play that pathway on red. Play out the Arcane Signet. And then we are going to play out the Neonate here. I would rather spend that 1 mana early. We can discard a card and sacrifice our Neonate to draw a card. This is great for cycling one of our lands in the later turns when we're trying to storm off. Now, next turn, I think we are going to play the Anointed Procession, just so that way we can get those extra token synergies off Kykar when we play him next turn, and then have that blue mana up to cast Opt, making some spirits. Our opponent's just ramping at this point. Let's go ahead and play this land on white, play out the Anointed Procession, and we will swing with the Neonate here. Now, if our opponent does have the land here, we could be looking at Atali this turn. Very fortunately for us, nope, that's an Arcane Signet, alright. Looks like our opponent is still going for the ramp. That's good, this is going to give us a little bit of extra time. We do have Swords to Plowshares in hand as well. Okay, yep, more ramp. Looking good. Opponent down to 1 card in hand. I do actually really like where we're at right now. Moving to my turn, let's go ahead and play out the Deserted Beach, and then play out Kykar. We're holding up Arcane Signet, since that could tap for any of our colors. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pass the turn here. We're in a really good spot. We've got Swords to Plowshares, which we can use to get rid of our opponent's Atali if they play it. We can also Opt and make our 2 spirit tokens, thanks to Anointed Procession. We are in a very good spot. Gonna want to find one of our storm payoffs soon. It might be time to sacrifice the Neonate. Yep, here's Atali. Let's see what our opponent hits. Okay, Cathartic Reunion. Sure. Great Henge. Yep. Yep, opponent casts out the Great Henge for free. Looking good. There's Atsushi. +1/+1 counter, draws a card. Actually, don't think we're going to remove Atali just yet. I think we're going to wait for our opponent to try and transform. So, end of our opponent's turn. Let's go ahead and make our 2 tokens. Runaway Steamkin is good, but it's not going to push us towards that win like we want. Seize the Spoils is much better. Moving on to my turn. Ooh, we do have an Idyllic Tutor here. Actually, really like this. We're going to go cast Idyllic Tutor. Make those spirits. Going to grab our 1,000-Year Storm now. Play out a red land. Okay, gonna click auto pay. Sacrifice a spirit. Sacrifice another spirit. And here's another. Paying all that red mana. Make 2 more spirits. There's 1,000-Year Storm. Now we can't sacrifice all of our spirits for Seize the Spoils here. But I think we're actually gonna go ahead and wait. Save this for next turn. Maybe get some more card draw. No attacks. Let's end the turn. Things are looking pretty good for us. Depending on what our opponent does here, we'll have a decision to make with our Neonate. Yep, they transform Atali. That's fine. Just swings out with the Atali. We don't have the white mana currently, but I do think we do block with 2 spirits here. This is going to bring us up to 9 poison counters. Just shy of lethal. We're going to look to close out the game this turn. Reckless Impulse is great to see. So right off the bat, we're just going to go ahead and get rid of Atali. Looks good. Then we'll go for Seize the Spoils. Looking good. We do have Solve the Equation, which is going to be very strong for us. Let's see. I think we're going to go ahead and actually start with that. We have so many spirits and so much mana. I think Time Warp is going to be one of the cards that we grab. This is going to super secure the victory for us. Let's also grab, let's see, where is it? Grapeshot. Perfect. That's another great Storm win con here. And let's grab a Lightning Bolt as well, since that's one of our strongest single target removal spells. Let's go ahead and cast the Time Warp. Yep, sacrifice a spirit. We're going to take so many extra turns here. So even if we can't find the win this turn, we are definitely going to get there. Let's go for the Unexpected Windfall. We're going to be doing this so many times. We're going to see so many cards. It's definitely going to accelerate our storm count. Okay, discard our land first, because we've already hit land drop. Now do note, since that discarding a card is an additional cost, we don't have to pay that for the copies. Everything's looking pretty good to me. Alright, let's go with Play with Fire. We're going to hit our opponent with that a whole bunch of different times. This will let us scry a whole bunch. Okay, bottom that. Not that it particularly matters. We're definitely going to be able to get there. Oh, I do kind of like that, but we're bottoming it anyway. Going straight for the win this turn. We should have it with the Lightning Bolt. I will cast Grapeshot first. Bottom that as well. Alright, let's go for Grapeshot. Auto-pay. I don't mind paying with the treasures. It would be a little bit more optimal to pay with the spirits here. But most of our cards are red, so that mana differentiation doesn't particularly matter. Okay, now note these are all the 1,000-Year Storm copies. And then we're going to have our Storm trigger. Get 6 more Grapeshots. And to close things out, let's go ahead and cast our lightning bolt. Happy holidays, everybody! And good game! Alright, and here we are queued up into Atraxa. Now this is the Proliferate Atraxa, so not the value one. I like this opening hand. We'll have access to all of our colors. Easy Dragon's Rage Channeler on turn 1. We already have the grapeshot, so I'll go ahead and keep this. Gonna start by shocking the Sacred Foundry for the Dragon's Rage Channeler. Pay that 2 life. Looking good. Now I think Light Up the Stage is going to be the play for next turn if our opponent doesn't get a blocker out. Which they do not. So we're going to move to combat. Start by swinging with the Dragon's Rage Channeler. Good. Now we're going to cast Light Up the Stage. We're doing this before land drop so we can see the most cards before we decide what we want here. Okay, now we do get to Surveil first. Now, Fist of Flame is pretty good, but I'm going to go ahead and put that into our graveyard. I don't think we need that just yet. There we go. We find an Anointed Procession. Let's play our land out and the turn. Unfortunately for us, we're not going to be able to have enough mana to cast that Anointed Procession. But that's going to be okay. Now, we can work our way up to a large explosion by ramping as well. That could be very strong for us. Go ahead and play out the Deserted Beach. And swing with the Dragon's Rage Channeler. Deal that additional 1 damage. We'll pass the turn here. Depending on what our opponent chooses to cast, if it's an instant or sorcery, we could grab that with Expansion. Alright, opponent plays out the Cornucopia. That's going to be very strong with their Atraxa. And the Midnight Clock. Alright. These are all some good synergies. Alright, well here we're relatively fortunate. Let's play out our Kykar. Play out a Mox Amber. This is going to give us access to additional mana. You can go ahead and get rid of the Sulphur Falls. And let's go and cast the Renegade Tactics. We're going to stop our opponent's creature from blocking. Surveil. I like Solve the Equation. Looking good. Swing out for an additional 1 point of damage and the turn. Opponent's down at 16. Yep. They're continuing to lose life off the black market connections. Now let's see, what do we need in our graveyard? A creature or an artifact in our graveyard is going to be able to enable our Dragon's Rage Channeler to fly over the top of our opponents. I think right now we're just going to focus on some extra damage in the sky. And also trying to get that creature card into our graveyard off the Dragon's Rage Channeler. That'll give us 8 damage. Potentially 10 with Solve the Equation Grapeshot. Alright, we do draw Shelter. Can give one of our creatures protection. Alright, let's go ahead and start with the Coast. And cast out a Solve the Equation. Now our opponent may have counter magic here. Or removal. They go ahead and destroy Kykar. We, very fortunately though, are able to give protection. We'll pick protection from black, get around the removal. Let's surveil here. Okay, land in the graveyard. Okay. Protection from black. It's going to get us around the removal. Yep. We will lose 2 life, but that's better than losing our commander here. Go ahead and make another spirit. Yep. Let's surveil, see if we can hit that creature. We do not. It's Thrill of Possibility. That's fine, though. We'll go ahead and put that in the graveyard. Now, we do get to search for a card here. What do we want? What would be the best way forward? Now, we do have a lot of value off of grapeshot, so we might just want to cantrip off our tokens, grab one of our red spells, our cheap red spells, maybe even something like Lightning Bolt for some extra damage. I actually really do like the idea of grabbing Lightning Bolt here. Let's move to combat. Let's go ahead and swing 4-5. Okay, let's go ahead and Lightning Bolt our opponent. And just like fireworks on 4th of July, we're going to end things super nicely with our grapeshot here. Throw that artifact over in the graveyard. Just turn on the Dragon's Rage Channeler. And grapeshot. We're going to auto-pay by sacrificing our 2 tapped spirits. Looking good. Surveil, we can just throw that in the graveyard, and we've got it! Alright, and here we are on the play. This looks like an okay start for us, so we're going to go ahead and keep here. We're going to go ahead and start with our tapped Temple. And I do like a Ren's Resolve, so we'll keep that right on top. Slowly going to make our way up to Celestis. We're going to be ramping. Our opponent's on Toxrill. Okay. We do play out the blue land here. Let's at least present a counterspell to our opponent. If we want to, we can consider at the end of our opponent's turn, but I think we're going to hold on to our instants and sorceries here. Okay. Slaughter Specialist. That's fine. I'm honestly glad to see our opponent running actual creature cards and not just Counterspell Tribal off Toxrill. We do have some choices. I think we're going to go Celestis here. And then no attacks. We'll go ahead and end the turn. Next turn, we can play out Kykar, play out the Mox Amber for a Spirit token. Maybe consider. We have some choices. Yep, opponent attacks. We're going to take that 3 damage. That's fine by me. A little worried about a counterspell. Nope, opponent plays a Midnight Clock. Now, there is still a chance that they have the Wash Away. And I think we are going to go for it. Okay, opponent does not have the Wash Away. Go ahead and make our Spirit. Here's the Mox Amber. Now, in an attempt to hit our land drop, we can choose between Ren's Resolve and Cathartic Reunion. Now, while Cathartic is going to let us see more cards, I do think we're going to take the Ren's Resolve this turn. Sacrifice a Spirit. Our opponent is going to get that +1/+1 counter. Unfortunately for us, we were unable to find our land. That's okay, though. We will attack, start dealing some damage while we can, and end the turn here. Slow and steady. Next turn, we do have Tormenting Voice to start taking a look at some more cards. I think we'll be discarding the Ancestral Anger. Yep, no blocks. Keep on taking damage for now. Renegade Tactics is an okay card. We can go ahead and use that to stop the Simulacrum from blocking. It's gonna give us 1 additional damage on our human on the ground. But we'll see. We're going to start with Tormenting Voice. Going to do all of our card draw effects first. Right, Key to the Archive is also very good. I like mana. Let's go ahead and start with our key. What do we want here? I think D-Spark is going to be the way to go. Hang on to D-Spark. Get rid of the Ancestral Anger. Okay. Let's go Renegade Tactics. It's going to give us 1 extra damage. We'll draw a card. We do finally find our land. Tormenting Voice. Autopay by sacrificing a Spirit. We're going to do the one with Summoning Sickness. Let's go and discard our Molten Impact. It's okay that we keep growing the Specialist. Alright, move to combat. We'll just swing out here. Opponent down at 19. Let's end the turn. Now we can make a token copy of Kykar next turn. That's going to be amazing for us. And pushing through our deck, Cathartic Reunion is also really good to have in hand. Opponent plays a Jadar. Looking good. Yep. No blocks. We're not going to block until we have to. Keep all of our creatures on the board for as long as we can. Okay. We have Swords to Plowshares now, which is also very good for us. Let's start with the duplication on Kykar. If our opponent does have a counterspell, this is the spell to use it on. Yep, there we go. We have successfully baited out the counterspell. Now let's go Cathartic Reunion. I'm actually okay getting rid of Dispark and Consider. Yep, looks good. We find a whole bunch of lands here. Let's play out another mountain. I think we'll go for the Warlord's Fury. Just make another token. And we find another land. So many lands. Let's move to combat. We're gonna swing out. Now, Toxtrol is a huge issue for this deck. That's why I'm gonna hold on to Swords. I think our opponent is gonna attempt to play Toxtrol, since that's gonna wipe our whole board. If we're lucky, our opponent does go for the Toxtrol play. I would much rather just kill it with Swords to Plowshares than have our opponent interact in some other way. We do have 10 damage on board. If all of our attackers are able to get through. Perfect. Yep, looks good. Yep. No blocks. Let's go ahead and kill Toxtrol here. This is also going to give us another spirit to attack with. Looks good. Now, notably, we do get around Spell Pierce by having so many creatures here. We are down at 6, though. So we're playing a little bit of a dangerous game. Moving on to my turn, I want to see a non-creature spell here. And it's a shock. Alright, 7, 10, 11, 13 total. Unfortunately, that is not going to be enough. But we are going to move to combat first. And we are going to swing out like this. Let's go ahead and change day to night. Yep, we'll draw and discard. Looks good. Now we do have a protection spell for our commander and shock. You can use both of these to make blockers for us as well. I'm going to wait till combat to decide what we want to cast our spells on. We can similarly pressure our opponent. We do have lethal damage on board. Okay, opponent swings out. Well, right off the bat, let's shock here. Our opponent will get to draw a card. We make a spirit. We can use the spirit to block the specialist. Yep. Resolve. Okay. Spirit to block the specialist. And I'm actually okay taking 3 damage here. We're down to 4. We have lethal on board. We have our shelter to protect one of our creatures. If our opponent can take an extra turn here, we can also use the shelter to get another blocker for the specialist. And our opponent can only swing with Jadar and the token. Okay, Shark Typhoon. Sure. That is going to give our opponent a blocker. Okay. Moving on to my turn. Let's see what we draw. Spikefield Hazard for an additional 1 damage. Looks pretty good to me. Gonna move to combat, swing out. holding up our protection spell. Alright. Fortunately for us, our opponent did use a blue protection spell, and their sharks are also going to be blue. So protection from blue also means they won't be able to block this 3 damage with their shark. Opponent is also tapped out. Let's just go ahead and use Spike Field the Hazard. Smack our opponent for an additional 1 damage. And then move on to lethal damage. Alright, I hope you all enjoyed this red, white, and blue historic Brawl deck. As we saw, Kykar has multiple ways to close out the game, whether it's multiple spells, getting that storm count as high as possible and pinging our opponent's face for a ton of damage, or swinging out with a wide army of spirit tokens. It's gonna get the job done. Now, if you guys have any ideas for another deck that you'd like to see me play, why don't you go ahead and let me know in a comment down below. And if you did enjoy this video, make sure you give it a like. Happy holidays, and I'll see you all next time.